Renz, just like yesterday. We have a live event that we're about to take you out to inside the Housing and Finance Policy Committee is holding a hearing about one-time emergency rental assistance aid, a very important conversation that we've been talking about a lot here at the afternoon shift. So when that gets started, we will be bringing that to you first. But in the meantime, I want to welcome in our executive producer, Paul Milgate, who is still shoveling out of the snow. It was 60 degrees on Sunday. Paul, what's up with this weather? You like this weather, don't you? Oh, we can't hear you. Now we can.
I don't know if I like the question about whether we have snow every day, but you know who I saw this morning on Fox 9 News that seemed to be loving being out in the snow, being sent out into the weather, was the one and only Bill Keller, who had a little special message, which I thought was really cute and made my morning.
Let's see this. Look at that. Way to go, Bill. Mapping out Fox 9 on the sidewalk. See, Paul, when I was a kid, snow was a big deal. And so whenever we would see it, that's awesome. That's like not even just a finger. That's a foot that he did that. I assume that's a foot that he did that
That's some commitment. I think it's foot. If you look down in that very bottom part of the picture there, you can actually see the foot. So I think he sort of did it and shuffled as he did it. But like to get it that crisp, I think that was what I was most impressed with, was like just how crisp it was.
Yeah. We just earlier this week we talked about bringing cursive back inside Minnesota schools. Bill has excellent, what's the word that you have, handwriting, or there's another word for it here that's a little bit more of a scientific term. He's got excellent penmanship. That's what I'm looking for here, penmanship. Bill Keller, A+ at that.
Well, footmanship.
Footmanship,
I guess is what we'd call it. But yeah, he, I just saw that, and then I asked him to take a little snap and send it to us, and we would put it in the show.
I love it. Yeah. Good job, Bill. Way to go. That's Bill Keller, Fox 9 morning news reporter, mapping out Fox 9 inside the snow this morning. If you were waking up here in the Twin Cities, you saw, what was it, an inch, 2 inches, Paul? Something like that, right?
Something like that. I'm not entirely across it, but I do know that when I left the house this morning, I was like, should I shovel this? I wasn't sure if I should have shoveled it yet. I'm hoping that it's going to have melted by the time I've got home this afternoon.
Yeah.
But are we expecting more snow this week?
I think there is more snow potentially coming, but
just at one point we discussed talking to Ian Leonard, and I know that Ian Leonard, where he sits in right near his little magic green screen, sometimes he's tuning in and listening to what we've got to say. So if he is listening, I'm going to find out whether maybe he would pop in and have a chat to us at some point. We'll throw him in the mix if we can.
Perfect. You know, the shoveling part that you mentioned there, Paul, that does make me a little bit nervous. And you can definitely get injured by shoveling, right? I mean, you can throw your back out, you can throw your legs out there.
Okay, that feels like a little bit of a dig, because the last time I shoveled snow, I put my back out.
Oh, I didn't. It
was like one sick day that I had. Was my back completely went out. It was awful. So, but I know that the Super Says Soon House Committee weighs on rental assistance. It's actually underway now. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to take everyone straight out to that.
Let's go.
The Committee on Taxes. We plan to vote and re-refer this bill out. Vice Chair, you have the DE2 amendment. Would you briefly describe the amendment?
Sure. Thank you, Chair. The DE2 amendment is just looking to get this bill into this shape to move this critical emergency assistance forward. It incorporates several technical changes, such as eligibility around prioritizing households with a minor child, as well as clarify some timing mechanisms, and then the funding source, which is the reason why we're back, that conversation around finding a budget-neutral solution.
Any discussion to the DE2? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The DE2 is adopted. Representative Kozlowski, to your bill as amended.
Great. Good afternoon, members, and to the many Minnesotans gathered here with us on Homeless Day on the Hill, joining myself and Representative Agbaje again for the real and urgent experiences that our neighbors are enduring. This bill before you provides $40 million in emergency rental assistance that again would be delivered through our counties and tribal nations. And quite simply, it's a lifeline, a lifeboat to the Minnesotans who urgently need this. We introduced this proposal on the very first day of the 2026 Housing Committee, and just moments ago, the Senate has just passed this actually off of the House of their floor in being able to bring forward a budget-neutral solution. We've received the budget forecast and worked with many stakeholders and partners in order to bring this forward and meet the moment. The funding source of the remaining dollars from the Tyler settlement that you might remember from the 2024 session and what Representative Egbaje will speak to more really comes from the fighting spirit of Miss Tyler, and the deadline to file for those settlement claims that we passed in that session to fight back against housing injustice. Those dollars remain in the account from the claims that have not come forward or that have passed, and the ones that remain there would otherwise just default back to the general fund. So this bill is directing those dollars to where they're most needed, and that's keeping Minnesotans housed. And as we've said over and over again, and organizations like United Way and Homeline are reporting a 60 to 80% increase in calls from tenants who cannot pay their rent and seeking emergency assistance. Counties have already exhausted their next quarter rental assistance, and eviction filings are expected to spike again this week, and we know April rent is already looming. Members, we have seen the highest number of evictions filings in state history in 2025, and if we fail to act quickly to take meaningful action against especially the instability crashing down on us from the federal government, we will break that record again in the worst way. So suffice it to say, families are being squeezed, but we have the tools and we could have the courage and the political fortitude to take action now with proven, community-driven solutions to keep and stabilize kids, families, seniors, and keep them housed. I lastly want to, before I turn it over to Rep. Egbaje to share a few remarks, it is Homeless Day on the Hill, and I've had the honor to present bills every single year in my 4 years at the Capitol. And that matters to me because in 2024 and 2025, we've lost over 400 Minnesotans that we know of to housing instability. Minnesotans like Alan in my community in St. Louis County, where over a third of those numbers come from. These aren't just numbers and statistics. These are neighbors and family members who are working extremely hard like Alan, who's a young person who was found on the lake walk with a sleeping bag over him. He is getting a job. He is so close to getting a house, and we don't even know what the cause of his death was. People like my mom in my first term, Gwenny, she was working a job thanks to the city working program at the library. She succumbed because of homelessness and didn't have a place to stay. And in my second term, my brother, Steven, he wasn't even 38 years old. He was working at Walmart, and he was couch surfing, and he died to homelessness. And so I'm here because I don't want another Minnesotan to go to that, and we can prevent these evictions right here and right now.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you again, Representative Kozlowski, for bringing this forward and for the updates in the D2 amendment. We have heard, when we previously heard a version of this bill, that why does the state need to step up because other neighbors are doing what they can for their own neighbors. And that is true, but we know that those funds are quickly drying up. Even in my own neighborhood, we have been fortunate enough to raise more than $200,000, and we've helped more than 80 families. But again, across the city and the state, that story unfolds over and over again, where every organization, though they had success in January and some success in February, is not sure that they will have that same success in March. People have been resourceful. It is time for the state to step up and to help the people as well. We need the state to step up to make sure that people can make the rent, because that has been an acute concern for residents of Minnesota, particularly in these ensuing months. And we believe that no one should have to be out on the street or in the cold because they lost their job or were fearful of going to work through no fault of their own. And this is our chance to show that we take care of everyone in Minnesota by ensuring that they can pay their rent and that they have a safe place to stay. As Representative Kozlowski talked about, I would also like to point out that the method we use to pay for this rental assistance are dollars that won't have an impact on the general fund because they are from the settlement related to a tax forfeiture lawsuit that was also related to housing. Ms. Geraldine Tyler, she had sued Hennepin County, and the Minnesota Supreme Court agreed with her that the county took excess from her property sale. So the settlement dollars that the state put in we've been able to use those dollars to make sure that people in her similar situation are made whole. And so the remainder of those funds should be used to address additional housing needs like rental assistance to make sure more people can stay in their homes, get back on their feet, and contribute to the economy. Additionally, as we've said before, these funds are going to go through trusted and vetted channels, and in all of those cases, they will go directly to the landlords to ensure that this is going to make landlords whole and ensure that renters can stay in their homes. And with that, turn it back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Representative Bajaj. We have one testifier that signed up who's testifying virtually, Commissioner Annie Harala. Commissioner, welcome to the committee.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair and leaders of this committee, and thank you so much to the authors of this bill and those that are a part of this conversation. I appreciate the opportunity today to testify on House File 3403. So I represent Duluth within St. Louis County, a region that is incredibly diverse in nature. My district includes tightly urban neighborhoods alongside working with my colleagues that have deeply rural communities. And across that entire landscape, every community is struggling with housing supports right now. In every single district with my 6 colleagues and I, we are hearing this from our neighbors over and over again. And I've seen again and again that when people fall on hard times, neighbors do step up for neighbors. But today, the need is growing faster than any local communities can carry alone. GoFundMe's only go so far when everyone is really struggling to meet their bills right now with this economy. In St. Louis County, our emergency housing assistance funds have run out. They'll run out in the next couple of days. We have just over, and with only a little bit left. And we don't have a new allocation until July. And we don't have the room within our budget to add to this. And so this leaves us a 4-month stretch where families facing eviction, job disruption, and crisis have absolutely nowhere to turn. And many don't even have neighbors that they could just turn to lend them a little bit of money. In fact, today I got a message from someone asking to pitch in for $350 to make sure that a mom could keep a single mom could keep her apartment, and she could keep her 3 sons in our local high school. So our main prevention tool as a county is the PHPAP funding. It's been cut dramatically. In fact, over the last 2-year cycle, our county received $2.7 million. But in the current 2-year cycle, that dropped to just over $800,000. So even as this need continues to grow, we've seen a backslide in that investment in what we already have. And we know it takes about $2,000 on average to stabilize a household and prevent homelessness. These are modest investments that keep families housed and communities stable. And I would say $2,000 versus the lifelong changes that we see from people struggling through homelessness is the right investment to make right now. We can't absorb this gap locally. Counties are facing compounding pressures from our federal government, from state cuts, paired with increasing requirements and cost shifts back to us. So we can't continue to pass those costs on to property taxpayers who are already seeing these rising housing costs. Simply put, we can't do this alone and we need you. So we see these consequences every single day, walking into every frontlines provider of our county or our staff being out within our communities or the providers that provide for us. And in fact, this winter, more than 600 people have stayed in our warming center just in Duluth. And we've had full shelters in North and South, having to turn away folks in the northern half of our county and in the southern half. So this gives communities a response right now. And we can use systems that are already in place and to help people before the housing crisis grows even further. Housing stability is a foundation that everything else stands on. And right now, this bill is how we keep that foundation strong for thousands of Minnesotans. I would also say, as a county that fought hard for the dollars for Tyler and that settlement, what a great place to pull from, a place that we ensured that you were not putting that burden on counties to have to cover the cost of that state need. This is the perfect spot. And so appreciate the authors for finding that. And I thank you for your consideration, and I yield my remarks.
Thank you. Is there anyone in attendance here that would like to testify? Seeing none, we can move to member discussion. Representative Rayrauer.
Thank you, Chair Howard. So I think this bill is great. I thought it was a great bill when we first heard it. I still do today. We know the best way to end homelessness is to prevent it in the first place. Prevention is going to save money on the whole system. It's going to have better outcomes for the individuals than, when you're handling it upstream than if you're working on the problem downstream after it's already occurred. As a Coon Rapids City Council member, I witnessed some unfortunate things. I witnessed council members voicing concerns over homeless people in the city, voicing concerns over, items in the woods or people on a corner asking for money. Yet they also voted no on homeless shelters that would house those folks. So they voted no on a hotel conversion, a hotel that wasn't doing well, was going to potentially be able to be sold to Stepping Stone and be turned into a shelter. It was voted down by the council. They voted no on a commercial property being able to be changed into zoning for multifamily for a shelter. They voted no on that. So we can't have it both ways. We have to tackle this issue, and the best way is to prevent the problem in the first place. As a teacher, I also saw firsthand the additional struggles that students who were coping with homelessness faced. And they also had outcomes that would have been better if the homelessness was prevented in the first place. So it's better for our kids, it's better for our community, it's better for all of the individuals themselves. And so I support your bill, and Chair Howard, I would like to request a roll call vote on the bill. Thank you.
We'll have a roll call on the bill. Representative Nash.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Question for you. Do we have targets?
Representative Nash, I'm not aware of targets. This bill is budget neutral, though, which was the main request that you folks had when we heard the bill on the first day of session.
Well, Mr. Chair, once again, I just don't see. I just don't see it. I mean, the testifier that we just heard from said we don't have room in our budget. There's no such thing as budget neutrality. So I do not see this as something that we need to begin moving forward on before we even have a firm picture on where we are as a committee, on our spending priorities as a committee, if we spend anything as a committee. So I'm a no, and I'm happy to go on record as voting no.
Just to correct the record, it is budget neutral. This would not have an impact on the general fund, which again was the main force of the argument from your side on the first day of session. We found a way to use this Tyler settlement. We moved a bill that was budget neutral out of this committee on a bipartisan basis earlier this year. This takes the exact same form.
Mr. Chair.
Representative Egbaje.
Also, as one of the co-chairs of the Ways and Means Committee, we are expecting to see bills from a variety of committees to be able to vet them to ensure that they meet with our budget outlooks. As we've seen the forecast a couple weeks ago, we do have a short-term, nice-looking picture. Obviously, we have to be considerate of issues that may be coming down the long term, but we do know that we're in a situation that we will have to do something to address the needs of Minnesotans.
Representative Momani Hilsley.
No? Thank you so much, Chair, and the committee. And thank you, Representative, for bringing this bill forward. And as we discussed in the first time around, we've all have seen and have heard the testimonies of many of us, many of our community members, and the impact that this is, this will alleviate if we pass this bill. As an immigrant legislator, once again, I have seen firsthand how, this work impacts individuals, especially in my community. In the wealthiest nation in the world, right? Especially here in Minnesota, no family should lose their home because, one medical bill, one car repair, or one missed paycheck. And we are seeing that, and that's the impact of, ICE and Metro Surge. And so this bill is not just, we started off with 50 million, we went down to 40 million. It's not just an emergency rental assistance bill, it's an economic stabilizer for our state. When we allow evictions to happen, the cost multiplies Counties spend more on shelters, schools observe instability, employers lose workers, healthcare systems, right? Healthcare systems shoulders the preventable crisis. So eviction is expensive. So if we can keep folks housed, that is the better option here. But when we step into this early, in it early, one-time rental assistance, we will stop the spiral before it begins. We keep parents working, we keep children in their schools, we keep families rooted in their community, from Brooklyn Park all the way to rural towns in this state. I just want to quickly just thank all the advocacy groups who've been able to be here and really champion this cause. You guys are the real MVPs. In my specific district, I have organizations who've literally looked at every penny under the rug so that they can help families. One of them is Acer and the work that they've been doing. They are running out of the very limited funding that they've had. And so this is another way of saying, we have your back. The state has your back. And for those concerned about accountability, for those who talk about, well, this, it might create more fraud, well, there's safeguards in place. They have both talked about it. The representatives up there have talked about it. In place to prevent fraud and ensure responsible distribution through trusted community partners. As we've heard earlier, this bill already has passed the Senate floor. And it's time for the House to follow suit. It's time for us to do the right thing. It's time for us to stop playing politics with people's lives and do the right thing and pass this bill. Emergency rental assistance is not just a handout. It's a bridge. It's a bridge for many families, a bridge that protects families, stabilizes our workforce, and strengthens our economy. This is the Minnesota way that we all love. I urge your support for this bill. Thank you so much.
Representative Dotson.
Thank you, Chair Howard. Representative Kozlowski. Question I've got is will illegals be able to partake in this rental assistance as well?
Chair Howard.
Representative Kozlowski.
Vice Chair Dotseth, I'm not sure what you mean by an illegal.
Representative Dotseth.
What would be the best way to phrase it? Maybe just undocumented people that are here?
Representative Kozlowski.
Chair Howard and Vice Chair Dotseth. As you know, as a Native American person, I believe that nobody is illegal on stolen land with stolen labor. But what this bill does is, if you look at the language, as long as you're a Minnesota resident, this bill will support you. But you have to have Minnesota residency. And I will add for a note that many folks who are seeking rental assistance, many of the folks that have been harmed and are bearing the most brunt by the impacts coming down from the federal government, whether that's SNAP cuts, whether that's health cuts that are impacting us in greater Minnesota, our rural access clinics that are making cuts to our EMS services, tariffs that are jacking up costs, estimated $1,000 to $2,000 impacting Minnesota families. Those are all of our neighbors, no matter your status. For some folks, they are also being targeted. Legal status includes a wide swath of folks, asylum seekers, TPS seekers, like our Venezuelan community members, our Haitian communities who were here, who go through the right process and who are still racially profiled, who are on a whim suddenly by President Trump declared no longer eligible to be here, even though they have gone through all the legal status processes. And so this bill is a bill for all Minnesotans.
Representative Dotseth.
So just a follow-up. So I hear you say as long as
no clapping, please. Thank
as
you.
long as they're
Representative Dotseth.
residents of Minnesota, not necessarily illegals, but as long as they're residents of Minnesota, they'd actually be able to partake in this. Follow-up question would be: is what assurance do we have that this isn't just one-time money, that this doesn't come back a year from now and looking for additional funding for this?
Representative Kozlowski.
Thank you, Chair Howard. And again, nobody is illegal. That term is very dehumanizing. But to the second question about how do we ensure that these funds are just one-time funds, well, it's baked into the funding source this time. And that is a question that you had asked last time, and I appreciate. I think I'll say two things quick, and if you have anything you'd like to add, I'll say that these one-time dollars are tied to the Tyler settlement funds, and so those are dollar-limited funds that are in that account right now. So once those are expended, that would no longer be cost budget neutral. But I'll also say that as long as we continue to have homelessness in Minnesota, we know that the gaping hole is $350 million already. And then the latest survey from the University of Minnesota put out that Minnesotans were already $50 million. Most are 1 or 2 months behind on rent. And then with the latest federal impacts that we've seen another $50 million on top of that. We have a federal government that's spending $38 billion on detention centers, as well as rounding up our neighbors as well as unhoused relatives across the country. And I think we could all be putting our focus on making sure that those dollars are doing right by the taxpayers here in Minnesota and being put to use for solving the homelessness crisis. $38 billion could actually solve housing for every single person in the U.S., as well as solve our food insecurity as well.
Anything further?
Representative Kozlowski, I look forward to working with you as this moves forward.
Co-Chair Igo.
Thank you, Co-Chair Howard. And I do appreciate the proposal we have in front of us today. Prior to the conversation we had on our first committee hearing, and this is an issue that you have bipartisan support on, and I do understand the benefits of FHPAP. I had a couple concerns, and I didn't get full answers before we got here today. So I was working and trying to get there. I had heard over the interim that there could be future cases tied to the Tyler case that could result in more money being needed for future Tyler settlement. So I have a little bit of standoffishness to spend the money that we have left over because we very well could need it for future Tyler cases. So I needed to vet that, and I didn't get an answer before committee today. So I apologize. I wasn't able to get that ready in time. So that's just one thing I wanted to put out there. Second, I don't think this is a dead issue by no means. I'm going to be a no today. I'll say that right now. But I don't think this is a dead issue. I think we can get there. We have time. It's budget neutral. That gives us more flexibility. But I also just saw some interesting reports, and I want to just pull up the numbers here. We just had the kind of like rent collected numbers come in for the state of Minnesota for March 6th. And if you compare it to years past, they are the exact same. So I understand, we've talked in this committee, we know there's a crisis, but if we look at just the Minneapolis-St. Paul, Rochester, and St. Cloud area, in March of 25, it was a 96.3% of rent collection, and in March 6th of this year, it was 96.3%. So yes, there's a crisis for multiple reasons, but we're not in something crazy new. And that's why I think jumping into this and giving her money that could have a future settlement involved. We're going to hopefully have a target coming down the pipeline. We're going to be working on a budget. Co-Chair Howard and I wrote a very strong bipartisan budget that took care of FHPAP last year. I stand committed in doing that again, but at this time, I just can't support it. But I appreciate the work, and I appreciate the diligence in finding this fund, and I'm not saying we can't use it in the future, but I just don't have the answers in front of me right now.
Representative Kozlowski to that.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Howard and Chair Igo. I appreciate the willingness to continue to log roll and figure this out, just as we did in the bill that we're bringing to the House floor tomorrow to plug the holes from the federal government with the HUD and COC. This is using the same providers, those same trusted partners in the FHPAP or CAP across that continuum of care. To the point of the Tyler dollars, that's actually something that we're really hoping that you'd be willing to move the bill on to the tax committee so we can continue to work through this, just as we did yesterday with the bill that we all said, hey, we had some concerns, but in good faith, we wanted to make sure that we can continue to do that good work and make the bill stronger and narrow it down and balance our concerns with also making sure we meet the needs of our housing providers and tenants. And so, but with the Tyler dollars, actually the time to be able to submit a claim has passed. There were over 8,000 potential applications and just about 1,000 that actually applied. So we are continuing to talk through with the Department of Revenue as well as with the AG and the court administrator on that to get specific numbers on cases and how that will turn out in the end in terms of the remaining balance for those claims. We also worked with House Fiscal to think through language that we could put additional guardrails to make sure that the dollars are preserved for the outstanding claims before taking more funds out for the rental assistance. So I am very committed as well. We both are continuing to work with you, but that just really, again, solidifies like the ask. Let us move this bill to taxes to keep doing the good work and make it stronger and vet those answers.
Anything, Co-Chair Igo? Representative Scriba.
You know, I wasn't going to speak on this, but there's a Tyler 2 coming. You know that, right? Are you aware of that in the Supreme Court right now? There's a similar case. The Supreme Court heard it last week. We had a lot of St. Louis County people there, and they listened. Maybe Annie or someone actually got to listen in the court, and they came back and said, it's coming again. So we know it's coming again. There's going to be something there. Is it worth saving? We might have to put more away from another time. That's a different issue. I agree. Mm-hmm. But, you know, something Mamami Hiltzy said, this is just a bridge. And we heard earlier testimony when the $50 million was asked for from the city councilor from Minneapolis, basically saying, you know, this is just the tip of the iceberg. We're not even close to what we need. And nothing pains me more to know that there's people out there that need help and can't get help. And I'm going to refer back to my life. I was in Europe for a month, and I didn't see this, and I didn't understand why I didn't see it. You know, why I didn't see homelessness. I'm in a city of 2 million people, Vienna. There's not one homeless person anywhere. And I'm like, what do they do different than we do? Well, part of it is they're taxed between 48 and 52%. So it's all taken care of already, so they don't have to come and do this. And so I'm not saying that we should tax ourselves more all the time, but I think, I'm saying that this problem is more systemic. This problem is way more systemic. It's not just this point of time that we need 40 million. It's not now. It was 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 4 years ago, today, tomorrow, and on. So I disagree. It's not a bridge. It's a Hail Mary for this group of people right now. Is it going to help? Obviously, it's going to help. But next week, there's going to be another group saying, we need it too. We need it too. And the part that I'm having the biggest struggle with is the counties in my opinion, they are our arms. We give them money, they do the work. And this bill has some of that in it. And I like that part. And that's the part I think I can get behind and work behind. But the whole premise of where we are right now and why we are where we are it's hard for me to get behind it totally. And that's my issue right now. I hear it, I see it, I sense it, I feel it. But at the same time, I don't think we as a citizenry are doing enough. That's all. And I think this 40 million is a lot of money. My constituents a lot of them have notified me, please don't, please don't. There are some that say, yes, do it. And the question that I have is this the end? Is this going to be just one time 40 million? Thank you, Chair.
Representative Kozlowski or Representative Badje?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Representative Scriba, for sharing that. You touch on a lot of issues within housing that we've wrestled with in this committee, right? It's like, how do we support people? How do we help them? How do we make sure that they have their needs? And you think you almost gave Representative Nash a heart attack over there talking about one method. But I agree, in addition to that method, there's also other methods, right? Like, we can continue on the conversations we've been having about building more housing, right? The zoning work that we've been doing. We can also continue to have conversations about what it means to make sure that we have private equity out of single-family homes. We can continue talking about what it means to ensure that we have enough money for our homeless shelters. We can continue talking about what it means to make sure that we have enough money to help people who need help with the rent when they need it, but also how can we make sure that the rent comes down over time? There's a variety of areas where we can work together. I think for this particular bill and for this particular need, the people that we want to help are people who would otherwise have been going to work and never would have come to ask us for help. They would have otherwise been opening their businesses and never would have come to ask us for help. This is through no fault of their own. And part of the way the calendar works, especially from the eviction law perspective, is yes, we do have a 14-day notice in the state. Some cities have up to a 30-day notice. It will take time for them before they get into court. And even when they do get into court, there's still going to be delays in that space. And so what we're hoping is that those built-in time periods will allow folks to be able to reach out to get the resources they need so they can make do and make whole with their landlord, and so they can stay in that home. Because then what you didn't see in Europe, but we see here, is that we unfortunately tell people that you don't have the money, whether it's, especially when it's no fault of their own, you don't have the money, so now you have to go either out on the street or into substandard housing. And the fact that we allow that in this country, while also saying we're one of the richest countries in the world, is something that I think we need to wrestle with. And so I hope that you will continue in conversations with all of us to figure out what is the best way to get there. But I do believe that this could be one step of trying to help people in those situations.
Representative Hussain.
Thank you, both of you, for bringing this bill forward. And how do we get here in the first place? That's what we need to ask each other. And the state, we went through a lot. We went through COVID. We went to civil unrest. And we also went to Metro Surge, which put behind a lot of people who are residents or citizens behind their rental. And if we don't take care of those people, the homeless that we're talking about is going to increase. This is the time that we can protect for those people. We're not giving a year for rental assistance, but sometimes people could lose job. They could have a sick family members. There's a lot of things that can happen. I have seen, and I have a lot of people that reach out to my office that that really appreciated for the rental assistance that we did 2023, 2024, that give them 2 months or a month until they find a job. They say, Representative, you prevent us to be homeless or to be behind our rental. We could not have our kids' place for them to take it. This is the time that we need to do the right thing. And if we compare it to Europe and in America, Europe take care of their constituents a lot. They have a sick time pay, that we just doing it like they have a lot of time off, not a lot of overtimes. There's the housings. They have health care free, a lot of the countries, which we do not have here. We really make our constituents and our people, we fail them as legislators. We need to do right thing for those people that really need help. This is not a handout, it's help that buy what they need for that month or to get to until they find a job. I am really supporting this bill. We are overwhelming phone calls that we get in from our state. Our citizens are asking us to help for those people that really need it. When it comes to housing, we have a lot to address in the state of Minnesota. We are behind so much, but if we work together, the same way that we worked all together in this committee, Chair Igo and Chair Howard was leading us, a platform and bills that reflect the community, that we did something tangible, that we get back to our citizens. This is what we need to do the same thing this year. And this is an urgent matter. It's not illegal or legal. We need to take care for our residents and our citizens. Thank you very much for bringing this bill forward. And we will continue to support the people that really need it. This is help, not a handout. Thank you very much.
I'll just make a few comments and then go to the authors. Thank you again for bringing this bill forward. And again, just want to remind folks that this is a crisis in front of us, and it's a crisis that existed before Operation Metro Surge. We had some of the highest eviction numbers in our state's history. But then what happened, as both representatives have mentioned, during Operation Metro Surge, is people were forced to stay home essentially against their will. They wanted to be working. This was done upon people. And community has responded to help folks, and the legislature needs to as well. When we heard this bill, one of the main criticism was we don't know the budget picture, and it spends $50 million. We do know the budget picture now. It has improved. And not only that, this bill is cost neutral. It costs $0. And to put a finer point on it, if we do nothing, these Tyler dollars cancel back to the general fund. There isn't a legislative mechanism right now to just keep this money around. And what better use of these funds right now? They were, as mentioned, appropriated after folks' homes were essentially taken from them, and now we can use those funds to help people stay in their homes. It is an elegant, urgent matter and the right thing to do. And would really encourage to move this bill to the next step so we can keep having this conversation because the matter is urgent. I do appreciate, Representative Scraba's point that, is this going to help? You're damn right this is going to help. And we should be the helpers right now because our constituents are in so much pain. And I do appreciate Co-Chair Igo's commitment to work together on this issue. I will say I was less heartened by words from Speaker Dameth. I saw in the newspaper just today commenting on this proposal, saying her caucus doesn't support this because people were making the choice not to go to work. And I have to share a story. I shared this in state government of one of my constituents. And it's important in this work that we ground ourselves in the actual stories of our constituents and what has occurred. On an early morning in January in Richfield, a family of 4 awoke to the news that ICE had somehow entered their apartment building without a warrant. In the scuffle, the mother and the daughter were detained by ICE. I would note that the mother and the father, both here legally, having legal status, neither have a criminal record, working in our community. The mother, before the family knew where they had been taken, by that evening they were already in Texas. The father is the sole breadwinner, the main breadwinner, and had to face the choice, am I going to go to work to provide for my family or stay home? And I just want you to imagine the son tugging at his father's pants saying, don't go to work. I've already lost my mom. I can't lose my dad. What choice is that? Mm-hmm. I would ask all of us, what choice is that? What would you do if you were that father and your son was asking you to stay home because he was worried he'll never see you again? Those stories are playing out and have played out all across our state. And what we're doing in this bill is saying, we are going to try to help you get through. It is the moral thing to do. It is the right thing to do. And we have the ability. I do believe that folks on the other side have the ability to hear those stories and have empathy and find a place to take action. I hope that time is today, because every day we don't take action is another day that someone is going to lose their home and face the consequences of an eviction. I hope that time is today, but at a minimum, I would just ask each of my colleagues to really hear that story and put yourself in the shoes of that father and ask yourself, what would you do? And find a place to help them. And with that, I'll go to Representative Kozlowski and Representative Agbaje for the final word before we take a vote.
Thank you, Chair Howard and members. It was said here, if we want housing like Vienna, then we need to fund housing like Vienna. In lieu of that, thousands of Minnesotans are facing evictions. They are on the doorsteps of falling into homelessness. Over 100,000 Minnesotans have had their utilities shut off, and this bill will take care of both. I think it's really easy to just kind of scroll past and gloss over the thousands of Minnesotans who are seeking rental assistance, who are desperately crowdsourcing and piecemealing money together to help their neighbors. But we know that these are real impacts. When families lose housing, landlords lose revenue, our small businesses are already hurting. That means that they're going to lose even more revenue. Children missing school, that impacts our local school districts. When kids aren't there, the school district doesn't get to collect the funds. And as we heard from our county, which, by the way, is one of the biggest reasons why we needed to make that $109 million investment in the Tyler settlements, because St. Louis County was one that had the biggest impact. But it's our local governments who absorb those downstream costs, as well as the rest of our infrastructure onto our emergency rooms. And I'll tell you, in greater Minnesota, we just do not have the shelter infrastructure. As we heard, overextended, turning folks away. And so what happens when more folks are cast into the cycle of homelessness? So we know that if we stabilize housing, we'll stabilize anything. And Chair, I think you said it best. We're kids, I think, that probably grew up with Mr. Rogers. Look for the helpers. And right now, Minnesotans are stepping in to take care and help each other. And the least we can do is use our power, use the money that's right here, right now. It's going to go away. We have the tools, we have the resources, we have the money. Let's help Minnesotans who need it most.
Thank you, Representative Kozlowski. We'll move to a vote.
Co-Chair Howard.
Aye.
Howard votes aye. Co-Chair Igo.
Igo no.
Igo votes nay. Vice Co-Chair Kozlowski.
Yes.
Kozlowski votes aye. Vice Co-Chair Dotseth.
No.
Dotseth votes nay. Representative Buck.
Yes.
Buck votes aye. Representative Hussein.
Aye.
Hussein votes aye. Representative Johnson. Representative Meckland.
No.
Meckland votes nay. Representative Bomani Hiltzley.
Romani Hiltzley, aye.
Bomani Hiltzley votes aye. Representative Myers.
Nay.
Myers votes nay. Representative Nash.
No.
Nash votes nay. Representative Norris.
Aye.
Norris votes aye. Representative Rayrauer.
Aye.
Rayrauer votes aye. Representative Scraba.
Nay.
Scraba votes nay. Representative Johnson.
With a vote of 7 ayes and 6 nays, and 1 excused, the bill does not pass. It needs 8 votes to move on to the next committee. Thank you, Representative Kozlowski, Representative Agbaje. And Representative Agbaje.
Welcome back here inside Studio 9. We were just at the Minnesota House of Representatives Housing, Finance, and Policy Committee. They were hearing about one-time emergency rental assistance aid. You heard testimony from various community members. You also heard from different lawmakers. The final vote there, 7 yeas, 6 nays, not passes. It needs 8 votes, 8 yes votes 8 aye votes to pass there. So that does not pass. However, we're going to stick on the term of housing right now, and we're going to transition to Crystal, Minnesota, population 23,000, just about 5 miles north of downtown Minneapolis. And right now, the city is trying to develop a downtown area of their own. Here to tell us more is Crystal's mayor, Ms. Julie Deschler, and Crystal's community development manager, Mr. John Sutter. Julie and John, welcome to the afternoon shift. How are the both of you?
Great. Thank you for having us.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us and all of your patience there. Hey, why the need for this project to develop the downtown area of Crystal?
Over the years, the city does some surveys of the residents, and they, ask them, what do you like about Crystal? What don't you like? And So when our council kind of decides at the beginning of the year what we are going to focus our priorities on, we look at some of those surveys, resident input, and there was a big push for us to, maybe change the look or, do a better design, more walkability, more green space, have a mix of residential and commercial in kind of our downtown area. So that was really the impetus of it.
Yeah. And John, I know that you're you're overseeing the project. Really, is there another Hennepin County suburb that you all have drawn inspiration from to maybe get some ideas to see what you would like downtown Crystal to look like?
Oh, that's a great question, and certainly there have been. In fact, our city council, along with the Robbinsdale City Council, which kind of has their own downtown already, both city councils toured St. Louis Park and Hopkins. And the interesting lesson that was last fall. And the interesting lesson from that was, well, Hopkins has had a downtown basically forever. It was a railroad town originally, separate from Minneapolis. And they've really nurtured that and turned it into something fantastic. St. Louis Park was a lot like Crystal. It was a traditional post-World War II suburb. And one of the things one of our council members said about why we did this town center vision plan for Crystal was when they would ask cities like St. Louis Park, how did you get to this point? The first thing they'd say is, well, 20 or 25 years ago, we came up with a plan, right? And that's how long this takes. It's a very gradual process. It isn't done in one fell swoop. So that was part of the inspiration. The lesson that we drew is we need to have a plan going forward in order to get where we want to go in 20 or 30 years.
Yeah, John, you mentioned that Hopkins is one of the suburbs that you've drawn inspiration from. I know that's music to our ears of our executive producer, Paul Milgate, who calls Hopkins home. Paul, you have any ideas for the mayor of Crystal and the community development manager?
Well, I actually think it's really interesting that you say that, because when my wife and I were looking for where we were going to move in Minnesota, we decided we wanted to look with somewhere with a downtown, and Hopkins, we found Hopkins, and that was the reason we decided to move to Hopkins. Mm-hmm. To get my head around that a little bit more, because coming from Australia, the image I have of America is the downtown, the quintessential red brick downtown, hometown of America. Going backwards, I suppose, to kind of understand where we are now, why did American communities ever move away from having that sort of centralized downtown, Main Street America feel?
I mean, there are a lot of papers that have been written about this, so I'm going to try to summarize it, and my understanding is not certainly comprehensive. But I mean, after World War II, there were a number of governmental policies that basically encouraged and facilitated, and to a large extent subsidized, sprawl. And the development pattern in Crystal basically went from being rural residential / farmland right up around the time of World War II, kind of the Corcoran of its day, all right? From 1945 to 1970, Crystal went from that to being basically fully developed as a suburb in that period immediately after World War II. So Crystal was shaped by what was happening in society at that time, and also the various incentives that were in the economy and in government policy. And so what you see in Crystal in terms of what our starting point today is the result of that. And I think what we aim for as a community is to have some balance, right? Certainly our downtown core, we want to see more density, more activity, more economic value, more economic productivity happening there. But that doesn't mean that our existing single family neighborhoods would go away. Those are also an important part of a community and part of who we are historically. We don't want to lose that either. One of the things that I think prompted our city council to want to do the town center vision plan was that in community surveys, probably the most common thing we'd hear overall is people would say, I love my neighborhood, but why do our commercial districts look so unappealing, right? I mean, people are generally happy with their neighborhood.
Yes, they are.
And so So we're looking at, okay, that's where we're falling short, is how our main commercial district looks. And that is where the idea for the town center vision plan largely originated.
You talk about that main commercial center district. What do you hope to see in downtown Crystal? Are you hoping for high-rise apartments? Are you hoping for, frankly, people like me that are in their early 30s to view Crystal as an attractive place to live in those places? Restaurants, what would you like to see down there?
Well, I think our city council, we really want to see some walkability, some apartment complexes, but also a mix of commercial with restaurants. We have a premier park already in that downtown area. And we just want to kind of, just create an environment that is exciting and nice to look at and functional for people who want to come visit, purchase a home, and reside in the area.
Yeah. What have residents of Crystal, what's been their response to all these plans for the downtown?
Well, we did 2 surveys to create the town center vision plan. And before I answer that, I should say, for the benefit of the viewers who aren't familiar with Crystal, the area we're talking about is generally the area around the intersection of Bass Lake Road and West Broadway, where the Target store is. So that, if you're familiar with Crystal, that's kind of what we're calling downtown Crystal. It's about 220-acre area. So I think the reaction from the surveys, let me back up, the town center vision plan's guiding principles derived from the responses we got from the surveys. We had approximately 300 responses to the first survey where we set out those guiding principles. And the consultant that helped us with the plan said that was a very high response. They were not expecting that level of response. And so from those responses, we created the guiding principles and then created the vision for the area.
Awesome. I love it. Before we let you go, just out of blatant curiosity, where does the name Crystal come from? There's got to be a good story behind the name. Do either one of you all know that?
I do, Mayor, but I don't want to.
I do not. I don't. I know
something the mayor doesn't know.
Used to be popular.
The Crystal Lake Township was an original township of Hennepin County that included all of Crystal, Robbinsdale, New Hope, parts of Golden Valley and Brooklyn Center, and even parts of North Minneapolis. Basically, Minneapolis north of, I think, 26th Avenue was part of what was Crystal Lake Township. And we actually, on our city website, we've got a great video that walks through the history of how Crystal, the city today, ended up deriving from that original township, along with several other cities, and also explains a little bit about our crazy borders, which you can see on the map behind the mayor and I.
I love it. Paul put this question in my ear, and I think it's so clever, and I want to ask it to you. Playing off the name Crystal, how do you if you put a crystal ball in front of yourself, what do people need to see out of Crystal, Minnesota in the next 20 to 30 years? I know the Town Vision Center plan's a big part of that. How do you see the next 20, 30 years going?
And I want to just jump in there. Like, it's a lot of pressure to think about what people need in 30 or 20 and 30 years' time. I mean, it's a lasting legacy that you're going to leave. Does that pressure weigh into the decisions that you make?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I just want a comfortable city. I want an affordable city, and I want a community that people are proud to call home. And so, some of that is, like I said, the walkability, the bike paths, the transportation, convenience for dining, for shopping, and just kind of enjoying all the things that Crystal has to offer. And yet we're located so close to, say, big the Minneapolis and all the sporting events and the concerts. So we have a great location. We just need to kind of ramp up our look and our image and plan for the future. So
awesome.
That's what we're trying to do.
Thank you all so much for sharing all of your plans for Crystal and its future, and really do appreciate it. Mayor Julie Deschler and Crystal's Community Development Manager John Sutter. Mayor Julie, John, really do appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. That was great. I got to go visit Crystal sometime soon. I can't say I've ever been there before, but it sounds like a cool place to be, and it's got a bright future ahead of it. So excited for Crystal and keeping up with everything that's going on there. All right, we're going to go to commercial break, and I believe Fox 9 chief meteorologist and friend of the afternoon shift, Ian Leonard, is going to be joining me next in studio. We went from 60 degrees on Monday to a couple inches of snow today, and I understand parts of the state are under a blizzard warning. I mean, it's just March in Minnesota, I suppose, but Ian's going to weigh us in more on all of the crazy weather happening in the land of 10,000 lakes. Don't go anywhere. And speaking of the weather here, let's go see what Bill Keller did this morning again. Yeah, well, put that up there, Paul. There you go. Bill Keller, Fox 9 morning news reporter this morning, spelling out Fox 9 about 72 hours after people were outside with sunglasses, shorts, and T-shirts on. Unbelievable. The Midwest, you got to love it. More to come from the afternoon shift after this. Always a good day when we have Ian Leonard in the house. What's going on, Ian? How are you?
I'm living the dream, man. Every day I'm living the dream. It's a good life.
Yeah. I mean, listen, we were at 60 degrees on Sunday.
No, it was. You know what? I was having a good day.
I brought it down
until
already.
the weather complainers show up.
I'm not a complainer. I embrace it. Am I a complainer?
Okay.
I'm a complainer.
Little bit. Not a lot. No, you're fine. Okay, I know where you're going. I mean, look, if you're scoring at home. We have had 4 false springs.
Okay.
Most seasons will have between 7 and 10.
Yeah.
So you've got a long way to go. Most people have a long way to go. Let's talk about it. You know, the weekend was upper 50s, touching 60.
It was great on Sunday.
It was gorgeous. I mean, even I kind of got sucked into a little bit of a false spring.
Yeah.
But you know, here's the best way to describe March. We start March with an average high of 34.
Yeah.
We end March with an average high of 49. Major transitional month temperature-wise. But in terms of moisture, we'll pick up about 2 inches of rain and about 8.5 inches of snow.
Yeah.
So you go through this big transition, and then you realize, well, there's a lot of rain, but there's also a lot of snow. It's a top 4 snow month.
Yeah, yeah.
The snow doesn't stick and stay, though. We get that. I mean, look, this morning, I said last night we get an inch plus. We had an inch plus.
Right.
You go outside right now, you wouldn't even know it snowed.
It's gone, yeah.
It's not long for this world.
Yeah.
I've got this mantra at my house. I don't shovel in March.
You and Paul Milgate. Paul didn't want to shovel today.
Well, you should never
Yeah.
shovel. I mean, unless you have to get, people have to walk down a path and you don't want them to slip. But if it's your driveway and it really doesn't matter, no, this is a no shovel month, man.
Yeah.
It's a no shovel month.
So you just roll the dice and just hope the sun melts the snow away? That's what you do, or?
Or I forecast the sun and know that it's going to melt. But I'm sure we can do it your way. I could just hope. But I said last night on the air, it'll be an inch plus of snow.
Yeah.
We'll hit 40 degrees and the sun's going to melt it all away. So I got some inside knowledge on the deal.
Yeah.
But I mean, before the break, you were talking about how things look right now.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, and I've said this all week long on the air on Fox 9, we are in a big, active week. Now, does that mean we're going to get a lot?
Yeah.
I think if you look at the people who are online posting things like, I'm living in the basement, and here's a chart I found online. Oh my God, it's gonna be so bad.
Yeah.
And then I have to say, whoa. First of all, always resist the hype.
Yeah.
Anytime you hear big snow numbers, just relax.
Yep.
But we're really looking for a 1-2 punch.
Okay.
The first punch comes overnight, tomorrow night into Friday. Now, really what we're talking about, the winds pick up. The metro starts with maybe a little flake or two tomorrow afternoon, and then that quickly transitions in warmer air. So the metro and area south, this is all about rain.
Okay.
But once you get to Mille Lacs and go north and off to the east, and in particular here, the North Shore and the Arrowhead, this is where things get really dicey. There's a winter storm watch, there's a winter storm warning, all areas to the north, east, and northeast of the Twin Cities metro.
Yeah.
Accumulating snow is an absolute possibility. St. Louis County, all the way along the North Shore, 6 to 12 inches. Along the North Shore, another blizzard warning like we had a few weeks ago because the winds here are going to be crazy.
Yeah.
The metro's also in a high wind watch. We'll talk about winds Thursday, Friday into the day Saturday. 30 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts, possibly as high as 60. So you had a little snow into that. Not a little fun. But listen, this isn't a snow event for the metro and areas west and south.
Yeah.
Number 2 comes as we head on into the weekend, and this is the one that people are posting online, oh my God, I can't believe I've never seen anything like this. And I say, you want to say to these people, that's terrible. But you want to say to a lot of armchair weather producers, do you know what that chart means? Do you have any idea? When we use forecast models as a meteorologist, you have to know, it's like making sausage.
Right.
You got to get all the stuff that goes in the sausage, you got to put it in the sausage, and then you got to give it to somebody.
You ever made sausage before?
I have made sausage.
Oh.
It's nasty. It's delicious when you're done.
It doesn't sound like it's fun to make. It sounds like it's gross.
It's really gross.
Yeah.
It's really, really
I don't want to
gross.
know what goes in it.
You just want to eat it.
You just want to eat it. Yeah.
It's delicious. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you have to know how the sausage is made in order to know what's coming there.
Yeah.
And the same is true with forecast models and charts. A lot of the things you'll see online are cherry-picked. They'll take the maximum snow ratio in the shortest amount of time. It's a forecast that wouldn't validate anywhere, including the surface of Mars.
Sure.
But they put it out there and people tend to believe it.
Gotcha.
I call that snow hype. I always say, look, as we get into Saturday night, Sunday morning, the metro should see snow. The bulk of the snow, the core of this system, which is a deep area of low pressure that comes out of the Intermountain West, at this point, it has slid to the south on the charts. Now, you don't see people posting that because there's no clicks in that.
Right.
It's along and south of I-90. Now, will it shift back north? It absolutely could. I call it the wobble. It's going to get some wobble. Will we get some snow? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But there are some totals that are being thrown around out there that I'm just like, you know what I need is a snack.
Some more popcorn.
I always bring snacks. You know I bring snacks. Cheddar popcorn.
I appreciate it. I know we got to get you out of here soon for a weather hit, but real quick, I got to ask. Your polar plunge event, it was cold. It was on Saturday.
Yeah.
Saturday. It was cold Saturday. How did that go?
We lost our lake ice
Okay.
on Friday.
Okay.
In other words, there's ice that's just not stable enough.
No.
When that happens, it becomes a run-in. And people are like, I've never heard of a polar run-in. I've heard of the polar plunge, but never a polar run-in. Basically, you start on the shore. We put a buoy or a flag about 100 yards out. You run out to that flag, you turn around, and you come back.
Yeah.
It's long, and it's more difficult.
That water's got to be ice cold.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
But here's what I've always told people, and you know this because you've been associated with Special Olympics for so long.
Yep.
For somebody doing the plunge, it is momentary, your discomfort.
Yep.
It can be a little tough. I wouldn't call it difficult, and I wouldn't call it hard. What can be tough and difficult and hard and lifelong is people with intellectual and physical disabilities, families and friends that surround the people with intellectual, physical disabilities. It is but a moment of to make sure that we support people who go through an entire lifetime of it. And that's where I think it is so very important what we do. We're at $5.4 million for the season.
Incredible.
You know, my team raised $180,000 of that, of which I'm eternally grateful.
Yeah.
It's just so much fun to be a part of it.
For sure.
And to be around the movement of Special Olympics, the inclusion revolution that peaks for Minnesota and the nation this coming June at the University of Minnesota for the 2026 USA Games.
That's right.
And so we're stoked about that. My team is 60 people. They're all volunteering.
Yeah.
And what I would say to people out there, if you want to be involved and see what it's all about, send me an email.
Yeah.
Here's my challenge. I've given this challenge out for, 27 years.
Yeah.
Send me an email. It says Special Olympics Minnesota in the subject line, and I'll get in touch with you. And if you want to come to a competition and see these marvelous athletes and this incredible organization and how it all comes together and moves people with intellectual and physical disabilities forward, and creates this incredible community, by all means, I will get you there. I'll bring the coffee. And I guarantee your feet won't hit the ground for an entire week after you've had time with these incredible athletes. It's why I do what I do. It's why Special Olympics is so near and dear to my heart and has been for my entire life.
Yeah.
You know, and you know it.
Yeah.
You know the feeling. You know the athletes. You know the movement. And you know, the greatest thing I've ever done is marry my wife. Second to that is the birth of my 2 kids. Yeah. The rest of life it happens. It's adjacent, it's parallel, it's ancillary. But if there's some sort of a legacy that I can hope for, like I know this, that outside Eden Prairie, there's never going to be a sign one day that says, Ian Leonard lived here. He was a really cool dude.
Sure.
I don't want it. It's never going to happen. Yeah. But if there's 10, 15, 20 people who remember how I did what I did.
Really well said.
And that's all I want.
It's really well said.
Yeah.
It's really well said.
It's the greatest thing I'll ever do.
It's really well said.
Yeah.
And you're 100% right. And it is a really special thing.
Yeah.
And you're a champion of Special Olympics.
Yeah.
And you're a leader of it here in Minnesota. And all the great work that you do through your polar plunge, raising all of that money, it goes to such a great organization, such a great cause. And just that's amazing work.
This is me. It's funny, the athletes and the whole organization of Special Olympics. I'm sorry, I'm blubbering. They call my wife and my family and myself, they call us the crying Leonards. Mm-hmm. But you know what? If this is the worst thing that happens to me today, that I cried here with you on camera, then I'm having a really good day.
I hope it's the greatest thing that's happened to you.
It
today.
is.
It's a great message, and you're a wonderful example of what really outreach can be and really improving the lives of so many.
It's so important what we do.
No doubt. No doubt. Thank you so much, Ian.
Yeah,
that was really nice of you for making time for us
I
today.
just showed up and ate popcorn.
You did so much more than that. You've inspired all of our viewers, for real.
Right,
So I really appreciate that.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah.
We're going to have more to come from the afternoon shift after this. Welcome back here to the afternoon shift. On Monday, Representative Andy Smith joined us right here on our show to talk about a pilot program lawmakers are considering to legalize psilocybin mushrooms. I learned how to pronounce that word earlier this week for therapeutic use in supervised settings. Today, we are joined by University of Minnesota psychiatry professor Jessica Nielson, who knows more about how these mushrooms work. Professor Nielson, welcome to the afternoon shift. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks so much for having me.
Yes, Professor. Yes, we got you. Professor, why are psilocybin mushrooms being considered for therapeutic use? There's probably a lot of people out there that probably don't know much about these at all.
Yeah, sorry. I think there's a bit of a delay in the signal, so I apologize for that. Am I coming through okay?
You sure are. You sure are.
Okay, great. Yeah. So psilocybin is the active compound in magic mushrooms that's currently being investigated as a potential breakthrough therapy for things like depression and substance use disorders. And so the work of the Psychedelic Medicine Task Force that I was chairperson of was really tasked with trying to figure out what would be an appropriate way to create a state-regulated program with psilocybin mushrooms while we kind of wait for FDA approval, which is a long, drawn-out process that isn't guaranteed, and people really are hoping to get access sooner than that. So that's why states such as ours and other states already that have legalized this in Oregon and Colorado and New Mexico are trying to pave the way for alternative ways to access through these state-regulated programs.
Yeah, and Dr. Nielson, I know that these mushrooms have helped you personally immensely in your life. If you don't mind, and I know you kind of shed some light on this to the Star Tribune earlier this week, can you shed some light into our viewers about how mushrooms have helped you out personally?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a long-standing relationship with psychedelics. I used to do them when I was younger. I've had some profoundly transformational experiences with psilocybin mushrooms. One of the first experiences I had with them that was very profound and life-changing was when I was in Amsterdam, where they were legal for a long time, and had my first kind of mystical spiritual experience. Before that, I was an atheist. But since then, my relationship to them has moved more into the professional realm. But more recently, I had a series of pretty traumatizing miscarriages and other treatments that I had tried to treat the depression around that really weren't working. So I turned to magic mushrooms to be able to really reconnect with myself and regain my sense of purpose. And it was profoundly helpful where other treatments weren't working for me.
Yeah, and Dr. Nielson, I want to kind of talk about, you use the word psychedelic and whatnot. I think there's a lot of people, there's a certain stigma that's attached to mushrooms, and people think, oh, that's something that, hippies do or something that's not for me. Can you kind of unpack the stigma that might be behind these psilocybin mushrooms and explain why they can actually be of use and better alternatives to taking a prescription medicine, for example?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. So they've been around for thousands of years. I think the oldest documented recording of their use is like 7,000 years old. They've been used for a long time by indigenous cultures for various healing and spiritual practices, and more recently have been gaining a lot of attention. I think we saw the emergence of them in kind of the mainstream Western culture with the hippie counterculture movement in the 1950s and 60s. They were brought to the United States by Gordon Wasson, who went down to take a medicine session with Maria Sabina, who was a medicine woman down in Mexico. And they kind of just exploded, and people were taking them out in the community, kind of in these unregulated settings, kind of in a recreational context. Also, at the same time, a lot of people were doing LSD, so a lot of times people will conflate the two. But there was a lot of interest in their potential use as a potential treatment for mental health conditions at the time. But given the fact that they were so widely used out in the community, in the counterculture, people protesting the Vietnam War, civil rights movement, they kind of was freaking out the government in terms of like what this could mean in terms of public safety and drug use. And so those, along with a bunch of other drugs, were looped into this Schedule I status that the DEA has. So this was in 1970 when most of these drugs were put onto the Controlled Substances Act. That's when that was actually initiated. And since then, it basically shut down all avenues of research. But people kept using them in a variety of settings. The research kind of continued underground, their use continued underground. And then more recently, we've started to see more FDA-approved clinical trials popping up with pharmaceutical versions of psilocybin. So the stuff that you're hearing about that's being tested in clinical trials is really a synthetic pharmaceutical version of psilocybin, but it exists in nature in psilocybin mushrooms that can be grown. And so that's what our state program is really trying to promote, is access to the natural version of this that you can just grow.
Yeah, these psilocybin mushrooms, not just for those that live in Haight-Ashbury in San Francisco and listen to the Grateful Dead, but they really could be for people right here in Minnesota that are suffering from a number of things. Dr. Nielson, how exactly do the mushrooms work? What do they make you feel like when used under a supervised setting?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, I mean, everybody has a different response to them, but in general, they typically induce this very powerful altered state of consciousness where you start to have visual hallucinations, music start to take on a different meaning. It might impact the things that you're seeing. There's a lot of emotional content that comes up, so people feel very connected to their emotions. A lot of like memories from your subconscious, things that maybe you'd long forgot, might bubble up to the surface in these kind of fantastical visions. A lot of people, myself included, will have a profound mystical or spiritual type experience. A lot of people will feel connected to a higher power. And that's one of the main things that seems to be tracking with the therapeutic outcomes with psilocybin, is this kind of spiritual, mystical experience where it's just so profoundly meaningful that on top of whatever the drug's doing to the brain, it's also giving people this like sense of meaning and hope and purpose that lasts beyond the effects of the drug.
Yeah, and what types of people would you say would really benefit from these? Like, what sort of conditions might they have where they could turn to these as a viable option to, again, prescription medication and whatnot?
Yeah, so the condition that has the most evidence right now is treatment-resistant depression. So that's the furthest along. There's been several large multi-site phase 3 clinical trials, and that might see FDA approval sometime this year or next year. There's been other promising clinical trials with substance use disorders. So a large trial for alcohol use disorder was published recently, as well as a comparative trial looking at nicotine patches compared to psilocybin to help with smoking cessation. There's some preliminary data with post-traumatic stress disorder, which is also oftentimes something that goes along with depression and addiction. A lot of these mental health conditions are kind of intertwined. So it has kind of broad applications that I think, because a lot of these mental health conditions that we're seeing that it might treat also have a lot of overlap in terms of their symptoms or the things that cause them. So basically, it's just helping the brain kind of change and be able to adapt and make therapy that people are already doing a lot more effective, because it puts the brain into this state where it's able to look at things from a different perspective and kind of assess maybe what had happened to them in a different way that helps you move on and change for the better.
Yeah. Dr. Nielson, I just think that there is just such a kind of a mystery behind mushrooms. They have the nickname magic mushrooms. Why does it have the effect that it does on the brain? What's inside these guys that can unleash all of these powers and all of these thoughts that you speak about?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the main compound in magic mushrooms is called psilocybin. There's other things in magic mushrooms that also have some effect, but the main thing that's inducing these classic, trips that people have is psilocybin. So this activates serotonin receptors in the brain, and so it has a chemical structure similar to a neurotransmitter in the brain that we already have called serotonin, and that's what a lot of other antidepressants are trying to target, to make more of your own serotonin readily available. But that acts on a different receptor than psilocybin. So the specific receptor that psilocybin activates is really the one that's driving these really intense altered states of consciousness, these visual hallucinations, the emotional experiences that people are having. And it also is kind of inducing this response inside the brain that induces what's called neuroplasticity. And so this is really the brain's ability to change. And this happens when you do anything novel or you exercise, or there's a lot of ways to induce neuroplasticity, and this is just one of them that is really effective, that can be used to try to crack open kind of the wiring of the brain to try to get it to work differently.
Yeah, it seems like these just allow you to view things from a different perspective. It allows you to kind of get out of your traditional way of thinking and view things differently, obviously for therapeutic uses here. They seem very interesting. I'm sure there's a lot of viewers out there that are interested in this and interested how they can get involved in this. What's next for this program?
Yeah, so for the program, basically, first we need to get it through the legislature and get it signed into law so that this can be accessible to folks. So we're hoping that people that either have had experience with psilocybin or are supportive of the research can come out to these committee hearings or write their legislators and let them know that this is something they want them to support. And so hopefully when it gets signed into law, we can then open up this pilot program that we're proposing, which would allow about 1,000 people initially to enroll in the program that have one of these mental health conditions that might be treated with psilocybin. And there'll be about 50 facilitators who are mental health professionals who are licensed in the state that will be able to offer psilocybin facilitation. And there are other clinical trials happening in the state. So if folks go to clinicaltrials.gov and want to get involved in a clinical trial, there are ways to kind of experience psilocybin and other psychedelics in that way. But I do want to note that clinical trials are science experiments. They're not the same as healthcare. So it might not be the same type of experience that people might have in one of these more like therapeutic settings, but there's multiple avenues for people to get involved. And then currently, if people want to access this now, they can travel to either Oregon or Colorado, where there currently is these legal service centers that are offering psilocybin mushrooms to people.
So interesting, and I know this is a huge point in the legislative session going on right now about the legalization of various different things, marijuana being one of them, obviously these psilocybin mushrooms being another one of them. So Dr. Jessica Nielson of the University of Minnesota Psychiatry Department. Dr. Nielson, really do appreciate your time. Thank you for sharing that personal anecdote that you did about your direct experience with mushrooms and how they helped you in your life. And, maybe some other people out there can benefit from these as well. So we'll see what it does in the legislature first, and we'll take it from there. And we'll be in touch. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, great. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Dr. Nielson. Thank you. Such an interesting topic, and more to come on that here in Minnesota. Excited to hear more about what lawmakers in St. Paul have to say about those psilocybin mushrooms.
I think the thing that is so fascinating hearing both these conversations is that this can treat something in a very short period of time. These people that are then might be on an antidepressant or an anti-anxiety medicine that they're on, and they're taking it every single day to try and cope with the issues or the conditions that they might have. This might show us a path forward where people can have maybe one day, hopefully, a one and done treatment for those conditions. And it's just exciting to be going back to something I think that is, like she mentioned, humans have been consuming it for so long, and we're really only understanding kind of how it has that impact on the brain. And I think it's an exciting way forward. Who knows if it's even going to make it through the House committee and then make it into law. We'll see.
Well, I can tell you, if there's one show that's going to cover if it makes through the House committee and ultimately sign into law, it's the afternoon shift. So stay tuned with us because we will be on top of this story, of course. We're also on top of the Minnesota men's basketball team. They're in the second city, the Windy City, one of my favorite cities, Chicago, Illinois, tonight. They are opening the Big Ten tournament at the United Center against the Rutgers Scarlet Knights, the State University of New Jersey, and our very own Pierre Noujaim is in Chicago with the Gophers and has all the latest on them. They need to go on a run here in the Big Ten tournament to get to the NCAA tournament. Minnesota has not made the NCAA tournament since 2019. The women are going to be in the women's tournament this year. Can the men make it a double feature of Gophers in both the men's and women's tournament? Pierre's going to tell us if the Gophers have any fighting chance to win the Big Ten. That's coming up right after this. Don't go anywhere. inside Studio 9, we have a word of the day at the afternoon shift. Sky, you, ma. We're all in on the Gophers tonight. They have a late tip at the United Center in downtown Chicago, Illinois, against Rutgers in their first Big Ten tournament game. I think the Gophers probably need to win out in order to earn that automatic NCAA tournament berth. But the guy that has the latest on all the Gophers and their chances to win out and win the Big Ten tournament is Pierre Noujaim, Fox 9 sports reporter, and our good friend Pierre. What is going on in the Windy City? How are you?
I'm doing well, Adam. Great to be with you. And yeah, it's great to be with you here from Chicago. And right behind me here, the Michael Jordan statue, something I've been waiting to see for a long, long time. First ever time for me being in this building. So pretty exciting evening for me, but it's going to be even more exciting for the Gophers and their fans as they tip off the Big Ten tournament here tonight, for the Gophers anyway. The tournament itself kicked off yesterday. For the Gophers, it all starts tonight.
That's right. The United Center, such an awesome and historic venue, and I'm excited that this is your first time there tonight. Set the stage for us tonight, Pierre. Rutgers, Minnesota. Minnesota, a slight favorite tonight. How do you see this one kind of shaking out?
Well, I think it's fair to say that if Minnesota doesn't come away with a win here tonight, it's going to be disappointing, not just for the team, but for the fan base as well. However, I think there's a few things that we need to talk about with this team here going into this game. Over the last 6 games, they've essentially played a 6-man rotation. That has got to be awfully, awfully strenuous for the starters over the last half dozen games here. Because, you know, even though they're young legs, the legs can only take so much when you're playing nearly 40, if not 40 minutes a night. So we'll see, and we'll probably find out early on in this game if Minnesota has its legs underneath them. Even though Rutgers has had a disappointing season by their standards coming into this tournament as the 14 seed, Minnesota, like you said, is a favorite to win tonight's game. I do expect them to win tonight's game. If they don't, they'll be going home early, and they'll be going home disappointed.
All right, so they need to win tonight. And do you think, Pierre, that they need to win the Big Ten tournament to get an NCAA tournament berth? If they just reach the championship game of the Big Ten tournament, do you think that that'll be enough?
No, definitely won't be enough. The only way to get into the NCAA tournament at this point is to win the whole thing. Minnesota would absolutely have to run the table if it wants any chance of making the NCAA tournament. And that's going to be a tall order considering the rest of the teams that are in the field here for the Big Ten. Nothing is impossible, but if they're going to make the NCAA tournament, it is going to be a very steep uphill climb for the Golden Gophers. Niko Medved would have to work some sort of magic to get his team into the tournament. Again, not impossible, but it's going to be very difficult. But it all starts tonight, one step at a time. All starts tonight against Rutgers.
That's right. And the winner of tonight's game gets UCLA tomorrow night. So like you said, one step at a time. You've been with Coach Medved, some of the players this week. What's the vibe that you're getting from the Gophers team? How are they feeling?
Yeah, you know, yesterday when they got off the bus at the hotel, Cade Tyson and Langston Reynolds in particular, and I asked them specifically about that very topic we were just talking about a moment ago in terms of the number of minutes they have to play and some of the starters and the number of minutes they have to play. And they just kind of shrugged their shoulders and they said, hey, it is what it is, and we're perfectly fine playing 40 minutes a night if we have to. And they're probably going to have to again here tonight and the rest of the way, but they have no issue playing significant minutes because they know their season is on the line. At this point, there is nothing left to do but leave it all out on the floor. So the mood is good, the vibes are good, but they know they've got a long battle ahead of them beginning tonight against Rutgers. And if this thing keeps going, you have to start to wonder how much juice they're going to have left going into a game against UCLA potentially tomorrow. So we'll see how they do here tonight. But yeah, the mood from the players and the coaching staff really, hey, it is what it is right now with this team. We're going to give it our all. We'll see if it's going to be good enough tonight.
You know, Pierre, all of our viewers can see all the fans kind of walking behind you, and everybody's got on their school colors, and it's just a nice array of all these different schools that are represented. I know one of my favorite parts of conference tournament week is you have all these different fans of schools that are all kind of combined in the same setting. Is there a specific school that you've seen this week in Chicago that is maybe represented more than anybody else? Maybe Illinois, but it could be somebody else.
Yeah, I was about to say outside of Illinois, that's probably going to be a tough one to get. But, you know, I mean, Northwestern obviously has its fans, even though Northwestern has not had a great season. But one thing I will say, though, is Iowa fans, they travel no matter where you go. Iowa played earlier today. They got the win over Maryland. So Iowa fans I've seen out and about, not as much right now because they've probably all gone back to the hotel or out to eat at this point. But I would expect the Iowa fans to be out in full force here tomorrow when their team gets back at it in the Big Ten tournament.
All right, you mentioned out to eat. Have you had any deep dish or any Chicago-style hot dogs yet?
I haven't had the hot dogs yet, and I have to admit, I have no problem admitting it here in Chicago. Not a fan of deep dish. Never been a fan of deep dish. I don't understand it whatsoever. It's like
I am
lasagna
so
on a piece
with
of
you,
cardboard
Pierre.
to me. I no. Yeah, thank you. It is just, I don't understand it whatsoever. Detroit style is my favorite style of pizza. There's no question about that. Love Detroit style. Deep dish, yeah, I could leave it. Nothing good. But, at the same time, too, I probably wouldn't fit in here in Chicago either because I do like ketchup on my hot dog, which I know is sacrilegious here in the city of Chicago. So, can't do that.
I believe you with that too. I think that's good too. I love a bit of ketchup on my hot dog.
Can't do that. Can't do that. The Chicago style hot dog's the best.
absolutely.
With the pickle and the celery salt and the sport peppers. You know what real Chicagoans will tell you, though? Going back to the pizza, real Chicagoans will tell you that the deep dish isn't the way to go. It's the tavern style, the circle with the thin crust. Maybe that's what you got to have.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up because I'll be looking for that. I'll be on the lookout for that the rest of the trip because, deep dish is not really my style, but I'll definitely be on the lookout for that. That sounds like more my speed.
There you go. Maybe you can get an Italian beef as well. Another Chicago favorite. And don't forget about the Chicago
absolutely.
handshake. Go look that one up at home. It's a certain drink that they love in Chicago. Pierre, just real quick, I'm going to kind of throw you a little bit of a curveball here. The Timberwolves last night lost to the Lakers. You concerned at all about the Timberwolves? This is now their second straight loss. Listen, the Lakers without LeBron James seems like a way better team. He didn't play last night, and they kind of handled the Timberwolves with ease.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I didn't get a chance to watch the game last night because I passed out early because I was up at 5 a.m. yesterday, but I did read up on what happened yesterday, so I did see what happened yesterday between the Wolves and the Lakers. And when I was on Enough Said with Dan Barrero just a few days ago, I said to him this very phrase. I said, it has been like a business-like approach for the Minnesota Timberwolves. That was on Friday. Since I made that statement, they've lost 2 straight, and it's kind of reverted back to why some of this fan base is still a little bit gun-shy when it comes to this team. Every time it feels like we're taking 2 steps forward, 1 step back is taking place. So they're a team that is talented. They're a team that I think a lot of teams would fear in a 7-game series, but they remain a hard team to trust, and they do it to themselves. And listen, this team has another level that it needs to get to, and we just haven't seen it just yet. If they lose in a 7-game series against San Antonio and Oklahoma City, I don't think there's any shame in that. But if they can't seem to find the next level and next gear that they have to get to in order to take that next step, it is going to go down as a disappointing season because after what we've seen over the last 2 years, everybody's ready for this team to take the next step. And do you feel good about them taking the next step right now? It's hard to say yes. It's hard to say yes, even though they're currently sitting at 40-25 overall.
Yeah, and the Lakers was just the first leg of a 4-game road trip. I think they got the Clippers next, and then the Warriors, and then
Clippers
like you said,
tonight.
Yeah, the
Clippers tonight.
Clippers tonight, and then the Thunder coming up on this trip as well. So a big stretch here for the Timberwolves. But let's go back to the Gophers here. I want a score prediction for tonight.
Yeah.
You think they're going to get it done against Rutgers?
Score prediction, that's a tough one. I do think they are going to get the job done against Rutgers. I think it's going to be a tighter game than people might think. So I'm going to go, boy, that's a tough one. I'm going to go 78-73 in favor of Minnesota.
Yeah. I have Paul at my ear. He's asking, can we get a nice shot of that Jordan statue? You were talking about it. Can you tell Jared,
please.
Maybe we can zoom in on that and see what that's all about? That's an iconic stat. Look at that.
And, Adam, for everybody watching right now, I want everybody to understand that if you want to know what the greatest basketball player of all time looks like, it's that one right there. I don't want to hear anything about LeBron James. I don't want to hear anything about any of the players. This is the greatest player of all time. The conversation starts and stops with number 23.
Yeah. There's some Laker fans that might want to disagree with you, Pierre. You know these Laker fans, right?
That's fine. They can be wrong. That's fine. I'm perfectly fine with them being wrong. I'll be right every time betting on 23.
Of course, a lot of people know Michael Jordan from the movie Space Jam. Even people that don't know the NBA, don't know basketball, you know Michael Jordan from Space Jam, from the Air Jordan brand, whatever. And he really got his start, or not his real start. He played at Chicago Stadium, but the United Center was the house that Jordan built. And there is the iconic statue of Michael Jordan right in there. Pierre,
no doubt about it.
Really appreciate you.
Yes.
Hey, I'm just going to put an open invitation. If the Gophers win tonight, you want to come back on tomorrow? We could chat about the UCLA game.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think we can definitely do that. No, it shouldn't be a problem. I'll have to double check the tip-off tomorrow, but there'll be the night game again tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I think we'll be able to do it for sure.
That was a USC fan that's right behind you. Tell him fight on for me.
Hey, where's that? Is he still here? Or did he leave? I think he left.
You're kidding.
I didn't see it. He might be gone. He might be fighting on his own outside. It's a little bit cold outside. I mean, you got to bundle up if you're a USC fan out here. It's going to be cold for all the Los Angeles natives out here in Chicago.
Yeah, the Chicago weather's not meant for them. And one last quick note, just I'm having fun with you, Pierre. You know, you're just 6 days away from the best day of the year in Chicago, St. Patrick's Day. Are they already getting ready? Have they dyed the river green yet?
Not yet. Did they do it today, Jared? Or did they dye the river green? Saturday. We were talking about that on the drive from the airport here. They're going to be dyeing the river green on Saturday. That's according to our Fox 9 photographer extraordinaire, Jared Rose. So if we're here till Saturday, we'll try to be out there for sure and see if we can get some footage of that. That'd be a cool sight to see, no doubt.
And that would be a good thing if if you're still out there on Saturday. That means the Gophers will be in the mix and they'll be in the semifinals at least.
Yep. Awesome. Yeah. Wouldn't that be something? That'd be quite a story.
It sure would. It sure would. All right, Pierre, go get some tavern-style pizza. We appreciate you.
All right, will do. Thanks, Adam.
See you. That's great. Live from Chicago, Pierre Noujaim. If the Gophers win tonight, we'll see them tomorrow. They got a big game against UCLA if they get it done tonight against the Rutgers Scarlet Knights first. All right, we're going to go to break, and when we come back, we are going to chit-chat about today's headlines here across Minnesota and send you on to the Fox 9 News at 5 o'clock eventually. More to come from the afternoon shift right now. Welcome back to the afternoon shift. We have just a few minutes left with you all before we send you off to the Fox 9 News at 5 o'clock. But first, we want to get to some headlines from across Minnesota today. Let's start in downtown Minneapolis at Target, where residents nationwide began boycotting Target early last year after the company scaled back some DEI initiatives amid growing pressure from the White House. But today, organizers called for an end to the year-long national boycott after Target executives agreed to fulfill a previous diversity pledge. Paul, I know you and Grace were in the control room today watching. There was a rally outside of the Target headquarters in downtown Minneapolis. We saw Nikema Levy-Armstrong and Jelani Hussein speak. Did you have any words about what they may have said?
I actually wasn't listening to it at the time. I know Grace was listening to it, so she's better placed to talk about it than me. But we do know that there are some people that are saying that they are calling for the end to the boycott. Others are insisting that it continues until they see some more change. I mean, they know that a lot of pressure has been put on Target in the last 12 months while that's happened, but yeah, some people are still standing firm and saying that that people who are supporting DEI should be boycotting Target still. So we're going to stay on that story because obviously Target being a Minnesota company headquartered here, it's important that we bring you that stuff about those big companies coming out of Minnesota. But yes, while some are calling for the end of the boycott, others are firm and saying that people should continue to boycott.
Yeah, and of course, Target was at the center of a lot of ICE-related protests. They were caught on video providing restrooms and whatever to Gregory Bavino when he was here, and some of the ICE agents, and obviously that sparked a backlash from a number of people too. So lots of news coming out of Target, and they got a brand new CEO, obviously, as we talked about in the show as well. So yeah, we'll continue to stay on top of that story for sure. But big news from them today.
It does beg the question: is any publicity good publicity?
Yeah. Yes.
You never know.
You never know. You never know. You never know. More to come on Target when we know more. Let's talk about another brand that's now coming to Minnesota. It's a Mediterranean fast casual chain started in Washington, D.C. It's called Cava, folks, and it's finally coming to Minnesota. The brand is entering the Twin Cities market with 2 initial locations, one in Minneapolis, the other in Blaine. The one in Minneapolis is going to be situated right on the campus of the University of Minnesota in Dinkytown. The Blaine location will be a few miles away from the National Sports Center. I personally absolutely love Cava, and I just want to explain it to the viewers out there. If you don't know what Cava is, you probably know Chipotle or Qdoba or restaurants like that. Cava is the equivalent, except for Mediterranean food. So you can get different pita wraps, you can get different bowls, different salads. I would definitely say that it's a much healthier option per se to a Chipotle or a Qdoba type. Lots of different vegetarian options, lots of different gluten-free options. Excellent baklava to finish off as a dessert. Excellent yogurt dill dressing at the end. So if you like Mediterranean food, you like Greek food, you're going to love Cava. It's like you said, you kind of go down the chain, just like Chipotle or Qdoba. You get your bowl, you get your wrap, you get your salad. They have excellent pita chips, excellent pita bread. My top endorsement of Cava. I can't wait for it to get here to the Twin Cities. Paul, did I sell you on Cava? Are you in now?
Yeah, you can hear me now. I'm a little bit confused because I know of Cava for 2 other reasons, the word Cava, 2 other reasons. One is a sparkling wine and in Spain. That's what, it's like a Prosecco adjacent drink that comes out of Spain. So that's where I know it. I'm just reading here, Cava is a high quality Spanish sparkling wine.
Okay.
Produced primarily in Catalonia.
Okay.
That's one of the reasons that I know
That's where my last name comes from, by the way.
Yes. Catalonia?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, Barcelona.
The other one that where my brain immediately goes, coming from Australia, which is down in the South Pacific, is you often get a drink if you go to countries like Tonga, Fiji. There's a drink called Cava, and it's a calming drink made from ground root and I'm going to get the name completely wrong here, Piper methysticum. It's a ground, almost like a tapioca type root.
Sure.
I don't know if you know, like a yam or a tapioca sort of thing. Pounded a lot, pounded. This drink, it's made, it's saying here, deeply rooted in Fijian culture for relaxation, socialization, and ceremony, and often used as a natural alternative to alcohol for improved sleep. So that's how I know the word Cava. I've never actually heard of it as a restaurant chain before.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's in all across the East Coast. It's out in Southern California, Northern California as well. It's great, and I'm excited for it to get here to the Twin Cities. I think it's going to do really well. And like I said, If you love Mediterranean food, Cava, you're going to love it. It's going to be great.
And I'm more excited about the thought of the Cava from Spain.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, that too. Yeah. We'll see how the restaurant chain ends up doing. Mediterranean fast casual chain Cava. Be on the lookout in both Minneapolis and in Blaine. All right, let's get on some sports here. We talked about the Wolves last night with Pierre. They didn't have much luck in Los Angeles. Lost to the Lakers 120-106. No Wolves players had more than 14 points. They allowed Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves to both score 31 points. The Minnesota Wild, they blanked the Utah Mammoth 5-0 at home last night with 5 different Wild players scoring, including Kirill Kaprizov and Matt Boldy. The Wild have now won 3 of their last 4 games, and tomorrow night they host the Philadelphia Flyers. All right, let's go to commercial break, and when we come back, we will send you on your way to the Fox 9 News at 5 o'clock. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back here to the afternoon shift. We have just a few minutes left with you all. Thank you all so much for joining us today, and we hope that you'll join us tomorrow. We're rooting for the Gophers tonight. Paul, is there anything that you've got planned out for your Wednesday evening?
Well, you heard it from Ian Leonard. This is a no shovel month.
That's right.
Right? So I'm hoping that when I left the house this morning and I forgot to shovel the driveway, that when I get home, it's all melted.
I think you're going to be in luck.
Yeah,
Ian Leonard said you're going to be good.
Ian said that I don't have to do it. So
that's right.
That's good at what I'm crossing my fingers for.
That's right.
It looks pretty nice outside. I can see a traffic cam shot right now. It looks like it's like summer outside now.
Let's see it.
Oh, now you're putting me through my paces. Here we go.
What? There we go. This is 35W northbound. All right. I'm going to be on that here pretty soon. Yeah, it looks like traffic is moving along. It does look like that could be June. That literally could be June. Who would have known that that's March?
Yeah, that's March. After a snowy morning.
That's right.
Yeah, it's definitely different to that day that we had to go home in the middle of the blizzard. So, I think I'm going to be okay. I think I'm going to get home to a completely melted driveway and sidewalk.
That'll be very
What
nice.
about you? What are you up to tonight?
I am gonna go get some Ukrainian food at the renowned Kramarchuk's. So I've just decided that within the last 30 minutes of my head, I think. So
Okay.
I'm
Ukrainian
excited
food.
about that.
Are you familiar with that type of cuisine?
I am. I have been to Kramarchuk's a couple of times. It's been a while, but the great bratwurst, great Reubens, great Ukrainian sausage, great marketplace there too. So I'm excited to go pay them a visit. I really think that is a Northeast Minneapolis staple restaurant, Class A place. So really excited to go back to Kramarchuk's, and already looking forward to our Thursday broadcast. I'll be watching some basketball tonight. I'll watch the Gophers tonight, and hopefully the Gophers get the dub. And so we can have Pierre back on the show tomorrow to preview the Gophers playing, hopefully, UCLA in their second Big Ten tournament game tomorrow night. All right, the Fox 9 News at 5 o'clock is about to start. Kelsey Carlson, some